Welcome to today's ASMR video, in which I will be talking about dinosaurs. For 165 million years, life on Earth was dominated by the most spectacular animals that have ever existed, the dinosaurs. The Mesozoic era was a high point in the history of life because it was the age of dinosaurs. These fantastic creatures included the biggest, heaviest, and most terrifying of all land animals. They evolved into an amazing variety of forms, ranging from small, feathered hunters to huge, armored leaf eaters. All the dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era belonged to two main groups known as ornithischians and saurischians. The word ornithischian means bird-hyped, and it refers to the way that the pelvic bones of these dinosaurs resemble those of birds. And saurischian dinosaurs had pelvic bones that resemble those of lizards. The ornithischians evolved into three main types that were nearly all plant eaters. And the saurischians were divided into the mainly meat-eating theropods and the big plant-eating sauropodomorphs. Here we can see colossal animal, Brachiosaurus, plant eater, with a long neck and large body. And here this picture is showing Spinosaurus, one of the biggest theropods, meat eater. And here we can see three ornithischians. Unlike modern reptiles such as crocodiles and lizards, the dinosaurs stood their legs beneath their bodies in much the same way as mammals. And we also know that many of them were warm-blooded, which allow them to be more active than modern cold-blooded reptiles. This dinosaur stance is showing us that their weight, which could be immense, was fully supported. Here we can see crocodile stance. And the modern crocodiles are close relatives of dinosaurs, but their legs do not support their bodies quite as well. And at the end, we can see a lizard stance. They usually sprawl their legs outspread and their bellies close to the ground, which slows them down. The dinosaurs were not the only giant reptiles living during the Mesozoic era. They shared their world with marine reptiles such as Dinosaurs that we have here on this picture. Powerful hunter related to crocodiles. And Tyrannosaurus like pterodactyls. Yeah. With an amazing 40 feet or 12 meters wingspan. Pterosaurs were lightly built with small bodies and long wings of stretched skin. The age of dinosaurs began 230 million years ago during the Triassic period. And this was the first of three periods that made up the Mesozoic era. Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. In Triassic period, from 252 to 201 million years ago, all the continents were joined together in a huge supercontinent with a vast desert at its heart, and most plants and animals lived near the fringes. The name of this continent was Pangaea. Then, in Jurassic period, Pangaea split into two parts. Northern part, Laurasia, and southern part, Gondwana. The desert shrank, and the growth of forest provided food for huge plant-eating dinosaurs. In Cretaceous Earth, 145 million years ago, the continents became more fragmented, allowing many different types of dinosaurs to evolve in various lands. Here we can see that the South Atlantic Ocean divided South America and Africa at that time. The Mesozoic era ended 66 million years ago with a mass extinction event that eliminated all dinosaurs except birds and some crocodiles. It may have been caused by the impact of the giant asteroid in what is now Mexico. At the same time, huge volcanoes were erupting, and the combination must have had catastrophic effects on the climate. The asteroid that hit Mexico was at least 6 miles or 10 kilometers wide. The high-speed impact of such a huge rock would have filled the atmosphere with debris and dust, blotting out the sun for many years. Until now, 800 species of dinosaurs have been named by scientists. And 80% of them have been discovered since 1990, in the last 30 years. Here we can see the picture of Tyrannosaurus Rex, the most powerful land predator that has ever existed. Tyrannosaurus was a supersized killer armed with massive jaws and teeth that could bite through solid bone. The length of Tyrannosaurus was up to 40 feet or 12.5 meters. Tyrannosaurus has 60 teeth in jaw, and here we can see one fossil, very big. It can be at least 8 inches or 20 centimeters long. The eyes of Tyrannosaurus faced further forward than those of most dinosaurs, and this gave him the binocular vision that it needed to judge distances accurately and target its prey. Tyrannosaurus has a massive neck with strong muscles that can hold on a very big head. lungs of Tyrannosaurus were like those of birds, super efficient for gathering the oxygen needed to power the hunter's huge muscles. And also, you can see here these white air sacs were very helpful for Tyrannosaurus. And air passed through their lungs into these air sacs before it was pumped out again. And this allowed the lungs to absorb more oxygen with each breath. Here we can see rib cage and ribs, very strong, that protect the dinosaur's heart, lungs, and other vital organs. The heart was probably at least 10 times the size of a human heart. Here we can see small arms, and each tiny arm had just 2 sharp clawed fingers. Theropods walked on their toes like birds, and each foot had 3 strong, forward-pointing toes and a small toe at the back. Like all the theropod dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus stood on just 2 powerful hind legs, and these were very muscular at the top, but slim near the ankle for speed. And each foot was equipped with stout, strong claws to grip the ground. And we assume that Tyrannosaurus was very fast. Very interesting is also Tyrannosaurus' long, heavy tail. Very muscular. It extends well beyond the hips, and the tail balanced the dinosaur's heavy head. Tyrannosaurus lived and terrorized Earth for 3 million years. Now I will tell you how fossils form. Fossils are a window on a lost world. They are only evidence of spectacular creatures that lived long ago and of the process of evolution that created them. A fossil is something that preserves the form or traces of a living thing that died many millions of years ago. When something dies, its remains are usually broken up and attacked by decay organisms that completely destroy it. But some parts are more likely to survive than others, especially the shells, bones, and teeth of dead animals. If they escape destruction for long enough and are buried below ground, they may be replaced by minerals dissolved in groundwater, and these can then harden to stone, creating a typical fossil. We have several types of fossils. Many of them are shells or bones that have been turned to stone, but there are other types of fossils. Some are animals that are not turned to stone, but simply preserved, like flies or mosquitoes in amber, trapped in a sticky tree resin millions of years ago, and preserved because the resin hardened into fossilized form called amber. Plants are fossilized as well as animal remains. Entire tree trunks can be turned to stone in a process known as petrification, which preserves the cell structure of the timber. Sometimes an organism, such as this marine animal Dickinsonia, sinks into soft mud that turns to rock, but then dissolves to leave an impression of its shape called a mold. Minerals dissolved in water can slowly build up inside a mold, recreating the shape of the original organism. This fossil ammonite was created by such a process. This three-toed footprint was left in mud by a predatory dinosaur more than 66 million years ago. The first known dinosaur fossils were identified in 1824, and it was the teeth and bones of Megalosaurus. Most of the time, fossilization is a gradual process. After thousands of years, a shell or bone can look as if it has been buried for just a few weeks, especially if it has been frozen. Creating a stony fossil usually takes millions of years, and the body tissue of an animal is gradually replaced with the minerals that will eventually turn it to stone. The result often mimics the original in every tiny detail, and this gives us vital clues about the animal and how it lived in the distant past. Here we have a story of one fossil. Badly injured in a battle with a rival, a Tyrannosaurus Rex stumbles into a river and dies. And here is the winning rival. The huge body of Tyrannosaurus settles onto a riverbed, where its skin and flesh start to decay. Below the body of Tyrannosaurus is sediment layer. Different sediments, mud or sand, form layers that can vary in color and thickness. And here at the bottom we can see this area in which we can find ammonites, extinct relatives of cuttlefish and squid that had strong coiled shells, and they are very common as fossils. Then, in this second picture, we can see that lack of oxygen deep in the river slows the decay process. Eventually, the body of the Tyrannosaurus is reduced to a bare skeleton, but the bones stay intact as they were in life. And here we can see Triceratops. Then, as time goes on, mud settling on the riverbed buries the skeleton. Then, millions of years later, a rising sea level floods the area with seawater, and the mud is covered with a pale layer of marine sediment here. And on this picture we can even see a megalodon, a colossal relative of the great white shark that was the biggest killer in the oceans 20 million years ago. Life goes on, and so our fossil. As the sediment layers get deeper, dissolved minerals turn them into solid rocks, such as chalk or shale. The minerals seep into the buried bones, slowly turning them to stone. Closer to our own time, an ice age turns so much water to ice and sea level falls. Mammoths roaming the half-frozen tundra occasionally stumble into swamps. Then they die and freeze. Mammoths were common on the northern grasslands during the last ice age. And when mammoth dies, it is buried in a frozen ground. Thousands of years later, the deep frozen mammoth is amazingly well preserved, with hair, vital organs, and even its last meal. And we can see on this picture that erosion exposes the mass of ice containing the mammoth's body. And here is our fossil. The skeleton of the Tyrannosaurus is still hidden deep below ground. But then, long after the end of the Ice Age, erosion cuts into the dark shale and reveals the dinosaur fossil. And now scientists, known as paleontologists, begin excavation. And then at the end, reconstruction. A well-preserved fossilized skeleton can be put back together to show what the animal was like. Nowadays, we can also use computers to model its muscles and other organs and work out how it moved when alive. With this, we will finish today's session. Thank you for watching. Good night.